Paul, thanks for joining in.
No problem.
Could you introduce yourself to our listeners, who you are, whom you work for, what's your job description?
So I'm Paul Malone. I work for Ardbeg as a brand ambassador. I also work in the company as a commercial and projects manager. So I've got a nice mix of working with the company on a day-to-day basis, delivering distillery expansions, commercial projects, and as well as that I get to support the markets with the brand ambassador work. So it's a nice mix of both roles.
So you're on the road quite often, aren't you?
The beauty of the role is I'm kind of probably out maybe once a month, but we've got people who are out 24/7, day in, day out, and I think that's a challenging role. It sounds a very sexy role, but I think these are the guys that really have it quite tough. I get it quite lucky when I'm out once a month, twice a month to meet guys in the market, so it's incredibly pleasurable in that respect.
So we had a great night tonight with a lot of excellent whiskies, from the Ardbeg 10 to the Ardbeg 1978. So what, in your opinion, is the secret of Ardbeg? What makes it so special, so unique?
I think Ardbeg, well, everything about Ardbeg is all about the peat, and it's all about the balance. So when you drink some Islay whiskies, there's sometimes you might be quite one-dimensional. With Ardbeg, you never get that. It's always the balance between the peat, the smoke, and you've also got the fruit, the citrus in there, and we call it the peat. We call it the peaty paradox, and it's all about this balance that the dram always achieves. And each of the expressions we tasted tonight, I'm sure you'll agree, we had this lovely sweet smoke, but there was always underlying elements depending on the cask we used, so the smoke wasn't overpowering any of the taste character.
Absolutely. So apart from the core range that stays the same for quite a long time now, you always have the special editions for the Ardbeg Day. How are they chosen? And how long before the Ardbeg Day are they chosen?
I know, and this is the magic of our whisky creation team, because if you think about it just now, we cannot just turn on, our guys cannot just turn us on in the space of a matter of weeks or even months to deliver an Ardbeg Day special expression. These expressions are years in the making. So at the moment our guys will have multiple experimental casks on the go. They'll be continually tasting these. So for example, the latest one coming out, I know we bought those casks years ago, and from the perspective of actually having to test the cask to make sure that the spirit they produced is actually going to be correct, and then from there what actually the final cask comes. So this is years in the making. So what we'll actually have is multiple experimental casks on the go, and the beauty of our creators are they'll be testing these on a continual basis, and it's very much about the taste. So there will be a cask that they might say, well, this cask is ready, and as we know, it's when the whisky's ready. It's not about when marketing says so, it's about when the whisky is ready. And what our whisky creation team are good at is identifying the perfect time for the whisky, and at that stage the whisky's brought in, we bottle it, and it becomes the expression. Whereas we've still got continual experimental casks in the background that are moving on and developing for future years.
So there are some people on Islay who exactly know what will be the whiskey for Ardbeg Day 2020, right?
They might not know exactly what it's going to be, but there are people who will know what we may be towards. And again, that's the beauty of our whisky creation team, because they never know it's not a simple recipe where we buy a cask and we know that that's going to be X, Y, Z in 10 years. The beauty of it is it's such a natural process. These guys they earn their money by really understanding the taste, the detail of the spirit, and while they might not know exactly what it is in 20 years, we may well have an idea of what casks we might be using and what profile we might be trying to obtain. But again, the wonder of whisky is we won't know until it matures.
Ardbeg has been tremendously successful over the last years, and the success also comes with some costs. That means that your warehouses are not as full as you would like them to be, right? So especially you have not too much older expressions, if I may assume. Are you building older stock again, or what are you up now?
I think what the company's obviously it's no secret that in the 80s and 90s there were periods that the distillery was closed. So when we got back up and running, when the distillery company bought over, we were obviously building stock up. That was back in 1997. So we're at a period now where we have built up stocks that can suffice our 10-year-old requirements, and we're at a stage now as well where we're using some of our older stock. You know, again, the beauty of the whisky industry is you don't just produce and deliver tomorrow. You have to keep some stock back. You have to identify special stock you want to hold for 10, 20, 30 years. So we're obviously doing that as well. And I think we're getting to a stage now where we can deliver older stock. Last year was the perfect example, where we've bottled an Ardbeg 21-year-olds. Now, this is something that we've been able to do. It's taken a long time for us to get there, but obviously as we manage our stocks, it may be something that we look at. But the priority there is always down to the taste profile. So the Ardbeg 21 was bottled last year, not just because the whisky turned 21 years old, but because it was the right quality of spirit for us to call an Ardbeg.
Do you see any synergies of the relationships between Ardbeg and Glenmorangie?
I think in terms of being part of the one company, I think the company certainly benefits from that to the degree that you have two very different brands, you know, and we do market them very differently in terms of beauty and the Glenmorangie element and the Beast and the Ardbeg element, and they do sit at very different sides of the taste spectrum. So there's a real benefit in that and being able to deliver to the consumer. But in terms of working day to day, the distilleries very much work of their own accord. You know, Ardbeg runs as very much its own entity, as does Glenmorangie, and I think that has to be the case. You know, they're very successful brands, not because they've shared or stolen anything in the past. It's something that they've done something very unique in their own accord, and I think that's something that we cultivate.
Okay. So keeping it apart is essential.
Absolutely. Okay. From an operational side, there's obviously, if there's elements that we can learn from each other and there's advantages, then we'll take advantage. But I think the core of the brand and the core of what Ardbeg and Glenmorangie are, it has to remain separate.
Okay, final question, and this might be a tricky one. We always look at some databases in the US and find new labels from Ardbeg. And one of those labels has been an Ardbeg OA. An OA, I think. Is there something you can tell us about, or is it still under the hood?
As I said, we're always developing expressions. It's something we will continue to do, and the great thing about Ardbeg fans are they're very patient people because they've waited years for us to have 10-year-old, 21-year-old in place. I'm sure they can wait for another while before our next expression comes out.
Paul, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure meeting you.
And you.
Bye.